Hello everyone, in this week's video I'm going to be drawing myself as a Pokemon trainer. So let's get started. So my kind of concept for this picture is that I'm a Pokemon trainer and I'm going out into the wilderness and going on an adventure with my favorite Pokemon. At first I was just going to have one of my favorite Pokemon, which is Torchic. I really love Torchic. He was my first ever Pokemon, and so I really like Torchic, so I knew I was going to be including him in the picture. But then I decided to also include Sobble from the newest Pokemon. I don't know much about Sobble because he's only in the Pokemon trailer for Sword and Shield, but he is so cute and adorable, so I had to include him. He's on top of my head. And for Torchic, I kind of have him marching down at the bottom, like all kind of happy and go lucky, and he's ready for adventure. And I was going to only have Sobble and Torchic, but then I'm like, wait, I have a water type, I have a fire type, I should also have a grass type. And so I added Rowlet because I really love Rowlet. He is so cute and adorable. And so yeah, those are the Pokemon that I included. And at first I was going to draw a full background for this picture, but then I was like, I don't know if I feel inspired to draw a whole background. And so I decided to do one of those pictures where I have the little kind of patch of ground under me, but that's kind of like the only thing we have for the background. I always really like doing pictures like this because it's nice and easy to do the background, but we also kind of get an idea of what the environment is like. And so that's what I went with for the background. I also have a ton of tall grass around us, like we're hunting for Pokemon. I actually got the idea to do this from one of my patrons. I feel like I know which patron it is, but I can't check the internet right now to make sure. So I'll put their name on here. But every month on Patreon, I do a sketch poll. And this month, drawing myself as a Pokemon trainer won the sketch poll, which I was really excited about because I really liked this idea and I was really excited about it. So for my design, I have myself wearing kind of a paperboy style hat because I really like the style of hats. And I have one that's kind of like it. And so I gave myself that hat because it seems like Pokemon trainers, they all have hats and they all have some kind of backpack or bag. And so I also gave myself a backpack because I kind of like backpacks. A lot of the female trainers seem to wear skirts, but I'm not a big fan of skirts, like wearing them. I like when other people wear them, I'm just not a fan of when I wear them. And so I decided to give myself shorts, and I'm also wearing tights or leggings underneath the shorts because I don't really like showing off my legs. And so I would wear leggings or something underneath the shorts. And I also felt like it just kind of made me look more like a Pokemon trainer. I don't know. But I had so much fun drawing the Pokemon. I'm really happy with how they turned out. I was kind of nervous about having to draw the Pokemon because I'm not the best at drawing Pokemon, but I feel like they turned out pretty cute. Especially Torchic. I just love how much personality he has and how he's just marching along all happily and so cute. I'm really happy with how Torchic's pose turned out. I also like how Sobble's up on my head. He's just so cute and he's peeking out he's kind of nervous, and it's really cute. I think the hardest Pokemon for me to draw was Rowlet. Rowlet was really tricky because he had his wings out and he's flying, and I'm not the best at drawing birds. They're always really tricky for me. So Rowlet was really tricky to draw, and I was having a hard time with his wings. So for the grass, I was having a really hard time with. At first I was doing kind of this tall, straggly kind of grass, but it looked almost a little too much like hair. I'm like, it looks like big clumps of hair, and I didn't like it. And so I started looking at pictures of tall grass online for Pokemon, and I noticed it's actually kind of round and the strands are actually pretty big and wide. And so I decided to start drawing more wide blades of grass, and I made them not quite as tall as the one that looked like hair. And I liked this grass a lot more. I felt like it looked a lot better. It still looks a little hair-like, but I feel like it looks a lot better than the previous grass. I'm never the best at drawing grass. I always struggle with it, but I feel like this grass turned out pretty okay. I also erased some of my lines later, so it's not so you see each individual blade of grass. So it's more like clumps of grass instead of just a bunch of strands of grass. So now I'm starting to work on the line art for me and the rest of the Pokemon. The line art went smoothly. I don't know if I'll show the whole process because it kind of took a while. But the line art on me went really well. I changed my expression from like a nervous expression to a happy expression because like I thought maybe if I was out hunting Pokemon, maybe I'd be a little scared, like, oh, what Pokemon is gonna jump out at us. So I made me look a little nervous, but then I decided to make me look happy, like I'm happily going around with my Pokemon and we're having fun. I also made myself look down at Torchic because then the viewer's eye would kind of go down towards Torchic because he's kind of just down there all by himself, and so I wanted to try to draw some attention to him. And the line art for Sobble and Torchic went well. I didn't really have any major hiccups there. I did change my sketch and line art for Rowlet. I decided that he was a little bit turned, and so you would see the one side of the wing, and before the body was kind of overlapping in front of the wing, but with the position you would be able to see all of it and the body wouldn't be overlapping it, and so I changed that part where the wing was hooking into the body. But I can't show you that part because when I was doing the line art on Rowlet, my capturing software stopped recording and I was really bummed. So now that I have the line art all done, I'm going to print it out and color it with Copic markers. So I was kind of nervous going in with coloring this picture because it was actually quite tiny. Like, little Sobble is so tiny up on my head, and a lot of the little details are super tiny. So I was kind of nervous about coloring this picture, and I was trying to be very careful to color within the lines. I'm sorry my hand kind of gets in the way sometimes, but with how small all the details are, I had to really grip onto the marker to make sure that I was being precise, and so my hand kind of gets in the way. Here I'm coloring the grass, and I had so much fun coloring the grass. I didn't think I'd have so much fun coloring it, but I used a dark green and then a yellowy green, and then I used kind of this bluey green to kind of blend both of them together. And it was just so much fun blending all the colors. It was kind of tricky too because I was holding 3 different Copic markers. I had one in my mouth and then I had 2 in my left hand, and then I would just keep switching which Copic marker I was holding. My brother was kind of amused. He was kind of watching me while I was doing this. And he kept laughing because I kept trying to talk to him with the marker in my mouth. For the back part of the grass, I decided not to add the yellow because I wanted it to be a little bit darker and a little bit more muted looking, so I used a lot more of the dark color for the back grass, and I only blended it out with the kind of lighter bluey green. I really quite like this green for the grass. I usually use a more yellowy green for the grass, but I was using this green in Rowlet, so I thought I would try to use it for the grass as well to kind of keep all of the greens cohesive, like, I suppose. And I actually quite like how it looks. I feel like it looks kind of cool. Next I start coloring the dirt, and for the dirt I decided to do kind of a light brown. I didn't want the dirt to be super overpowering, and the grass already gets kind of dark, so I thought to help with the values I would have the dirt be a little bit of a lighter color. I do make it get pretty dark on the side to kind of suggest that it's kind of a shadow. Next I'm going in and coloring my skin. One thing I was really nervous about while coloring this was my line art bleeding into the coloring, because for some reason whenever I use a light color, the line art just likes to bleed. Like, I'll use like a mid-tone color or a dark color and it won't bleed, but then I'll use a light color and it's just like, oh, let's smudge everywhere. But overall it went pretty smoothly. I didn't have any major smudging. I did have a little bit of smudging on Rowlet, but overall it turned out okay, so I'm happy. For my color scheme, I decided to go with pinks and teals because I really like pinks and teals. And so for my hat, I have a light pink. At first I was gonna have it be teal, but then I'm like, well, Sobble is blue, and so I thought teal and blue close together, Sobble wouldn't stick out. So I did the pink for the hat and then pink for the shorts, and I also used pink on the shoes. And so I tried to use a lot of pink in my design. And here I'm coloring Sobble. He was so tiny, and yeah, like I mentioned, I really love Sobble and he's really cute. I think he's gonna be my starter for Sword and Shield, but I do also really like Scorbunny, and Grookey's also really cute. I haven't totally decided yet. Next I'm coloring Rowlet. For Rowlet, I actually used the same color that I used for my skin for his feathers, but instead of shading with pinky colors, I tried to shade with more tannish colors. That way it would look more like his creamy color and less like a skin tone. And for Torchic, I'm using a really bright orange. Torchic is kind of the only thing that's orange in this picture, so he kind of really sticks out, which is kind of okay since he's kind of down there at the bottom all by himself. But I do include some yellow in my backpack to try to include some more colors into my design, kind of up at the top of the picture. That way, Torchic isn't the only thing that has yellow and orange in him. And next I color in my shirt with this light teal color. I was going to use an even lighter color and then shade with the color that I colored the shirt with. But I messed up and I'm like, oh no, I used my shading color to color the shirt. So then I had to use my other color to shade it. And for my tights, I decided to go with a light gray. I was thinking maybe black at first, but then I thought maybe the black would be a little bit too overpowering. And so I decided to go with a light gray, but I'm not sure if I quite like the light gray. I feel like it might be a little bit too close in value to the grass. I try my best to darken up the tights a bit, and I also add some highlights on them later with some white color pencil. So I do feel like they do kind of stand out, but I do feel like they're still a little close value wise to the grass. I also use color pencils for shading. I always like kind of using a mixture of color pencils and Copic markers just because I like the precision that color pencils give me. And so for a lot of the picture I go in with a pink, a magenta, and a purple for the shading just to give things a little bit more depth and to make things a little bit more interesting. I also use yellow and white for the highlights. So here's the finished picture of me as a Pokemon trainer. I had so much fun working on this picture and designing myself as a Pokemon trainer and getting to draw my favorite Pokemon. Let me know who your favorite Pokemon are in the comments. I'd be really interested to know. Also, thank you so much to my patrons, including Rachel, Andrew, Swinky, now from Academy of Games, Suziel, Robert, Tamalam, Pisatera, Ann, Magic Gamer Dad, Eduardo, AJ, Nikki, Michael, Adam, Narichan, Daniel, Panda Bear, Daniel, Aaron, and Patrick. Thank you so much for being a patron and for your support. It truly means a lot to me. Also, if you want to get this month's exclusive video and illustration, you need to become a $5 patron before April 1st. If you want more info on becoming a patron, there'll be a link to my Patreon page in the description. Well, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!